Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fluent Vibe Podcast. I'm Ria. And I'm Ethan. Let me ask you something. Have you ever known exactly what you wanted to say in English, but the moment someone looked at you and waited for an answer, your mind went completely blank? Maybe you've experienced this during an interview, during a class presentation, during a conversation with a stranger, or even while talking to friends. What's strange is that later, the words suddenly come back. You remember everything, the vocabulary, the grammar, the perfect response. And then you wonder, if I knew the answer, why couldn't I say it? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of English learners experience exactly the same thing. And today, we're going to explore the fascinating psychology behind this problem, why your brain sometimes refuses to speak English when pressure appears. Music, soft intro music, fades out. Ethan, let's start with the big question. Why does the brain suddenly stop cooperating under pressure? Because your brain has two different priorities. Interesting. What are they? One priority is communication. The other is survival. Survival? Yes. And under pressure, survival often wins. Even during a simple conversation? Even then, because the brain doesn't always distinguish between physical threats and social threats. That's fascinating. Imagine you're standing in front of a group of people. Everyone is listening. Everyone is waiting. Sounds stressful already. Your brain notices something important. People are paying attention to you. And then, it starts asking questions. What if I make a mistake? What if they judge me? What if I embarrass myself? And suddenly, the conversation feels dangerous. Exactly, even though you're completely safe. Let's imagine a learner named Sarah. Okay, Sarah practices English alone every day. She speaks well. She understands podcasts. She knows hundreds of vocabulary words. But during a real conversation, everything changes. Because now pressure enters the picture. And pressure changes how the brain works. Exactly. What actually happens inside the brain? The brain shifts attention. Meaning, instead of focusing completely on communication, part of your attention starts monitoring danger. Danger that isn't really there. Correct, but the brain believes it's important. So mental resources get divided. Exactly, and when resources are divided, language performance often suffers. Let's talk about overthinking, because many learners struggle with it. One of the biggest causes of speaking difficulties. Why? Because natural conversation happens quickly, very quickly. But overthinking slows everything down. Instead of speaking naturally, people start analyzing every word, every sentence, every grammar rule, every possible mistake. And by the time they're ready to answer, the moment has passed. Exactly. It's almost like trying to drive a car while reading the instruction manual. That's a perfect example. Experienced drivers react naturally because driving has become automatic. Exactly, but beginners think about every movement. And English learners often do the same thing, especially under pressure. Here's something interesting. Many learners think, my English disappears under pressure. But that's not actually true. Really? The knowledge doesn't disappear, access becomes more difficult. Like having books in a library, but struggling to find them quickly. Exactly. The information is still there, but pressure makes retrieval harder. That's probably why people remember the answer later. Sometimes 5 minutes later, sometimes 5 hours later, after the pressure is gone. Exactly. The brain relaxes and access improves again. Let's talk about perfectionism because I think it plays a huge role. A massive role. Many learners secretly believe if I can't say it perfectly, I shouldn't say it at all. That's a dangerous belief. Very dangerous, because perfection creates pressure, and pressure creates hesitation. And hesitation creates silence. Exactly. It's almost like the man trying to drive a car while reading the instruction manual. Maybe the biggest surprise is this. The brain isn't trying to hurt you. Not at all. It's trying to protect you, even when that protection becomes a problem. Exactly. Your brain thinks it's helping, but sometimes its protective systems become overactive. And that's when English suddenly feels impossible, even though your ability hasn't disappeared. In the next part, we'll explore how confident speakers stay calm under pressure, why some people recover faster from mistakes, and the simple mental shifts that help your brain work with you instead of against you. Because the most important solution is still ahead. Soft music slowly rises. To be continued. Welcome back. In the first part, we discovered something important. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage your English, it's trying to protect you. The problem is that your brain sometimes treats social situations like threats, and when that happens, speaking becomes harder. So let's talk about confident speakers. Do they never feel pressure? Actually, they do, much more often than people realize. Really? Absolutely. The difference is not the absence of pressure, it's their response to pressure. Explain that. When nervous learners feel pressure, they often focus on mistakes. What if I say something wrong? Exactly, but confident speakers focus on communication. What message am I trying to share? That's the difference. Interesting. So attention matters. A lot. Your brain can focus strongly on a few things at once. If you're focused on fear, you have less attention available for speaking. But if you're focused on the conversation, your brain works more naturally. Let's imagine you're talking with a friend. Okay. Suddenly you forget a word. A common situation. What does a nervous learner do? They panic. They stop talking, they apologize, they become frustrated. And what does a confident speaker do? They keep going. They describe the word, use a simpler word, or express the same idea differently. The conversation continues. Exactly, because communication matters more than perfection. Let's talk about mistakes, because many learners fear them deeply. One of the biggest fears in language learning. Why are mistakes so powerful emotionally? Because many people connect mistakes with identity. Meaning, instead of thinking, I made a mistake, they think, I am bad at English. That's a huge difference. A very huge difference. One describes an event, the other attacks a person. And confident speakers don't do that. Not usually. They separate themselves from their mistakes. Interesting. A mistake becomes information, not proof of failure. That's a mindset shift, a powerful one. Let's imagine two people giving a presentation. Okay? Both make the same grammar mistake. Right. The first person thinks about it all day and loses confidence. The second person notices it, learns from it, and moves on. And that person improves faster because learning continues. I think many learners underestimate the power of self-talk. Absolutely, the way you talk to yourself matters. For example, instead of saying, my English is terrible, try saying, I'm still learning. Instead of, I always mess up, say, I'm improving with practice. Those sentences feel very different because they create different emotional states. Let's discuss a practical strategy. What should someone do when pressure appears? First, slow down. Interesting. Many learners try to speak faster when they're nervous, which creates more mistakes. Exactly. Slow speaking often sounds more confident than rushed speaking. That's valuable advice. Second, focus on the message, not the mistake. Communication first. Always. Here's another important truth. Pressure decreases with experience. Very true. The first conversation feels scary. The 10th feels easier. The 100th feels normal. Because the brain learns something. What? Nothing terrible happens. And that lesson builds confidence. One conversation at a time. If you're listening right now and English feels difficult under pressure, please remember this. Your struggles are normal. Very normal. You are not broken. You are not incapable. And you are definitely not alone. You're simply learning a skill that requires practice. Before we finish, let's remember today's biggest lesson. Your brain refuses to speak under pressure because it thinks it's protecting you. But with practice, your brain learns that conversations are safe. Confidence grows. fear shrinks, communication becomes easier, and speaking starts to feel natural. Thank you for joining us on Fluent Vibe Podcast. I'm Rhea. And I'm Ethan. Keep speaking, keep practicing, keep showing up. Because every conversation teaches your brain something important. That mistakes are survivable, that communication is possible, and that confidence is built through action. One sentence at a time, one conversation at a time, one courageous moment at a time. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, take care and never stop speaking English.